Hello, and welcome back to plantcare.club, where we care about your plants. My name is Fred, and on this show, we do three things. Number one, we talk about your plants, indoor, outdoor, whatever you've got, as long as they're not fake, we talk about them. Number two, we do product reviews, so we'll talk about specific types of products, plants, pots, soil, whatever's coming, something coming to the market. If you're interested, send us a message, we can take a look. And number three, we answer your questions. So if you have any questions while listening to the show, head over to plantcare.club, fill out our question form, and send us a message. We will either get back to you over email or we can answer it on a following show. So, as I said, my name's Fred. I have about 6 years of experience in the horticultural industry, and we have a greenhouse where we ship plants across Ontario, Canada, and the United States, as well as a nursery in Homestead, Florida, where we ship plants as well across Canada and the United States. The goal of this show is to take some of the lessons that we learn in the greenhouse, things that growers know, that professionals know, and that they use in the greenhouse, and show you how you can apply that to the plants at your own home. On another note, too, the other point of this show is to answer some of the questions that we already really answer. So, up to this point, we would get a lot of messages. I would get a lot of texts, especially like in the fall and the spring. Hey, what's wrong with my plant? People sending me pictures, that kind of a thing. And my sister and I realized that, wow, this is really of need. People will message us and they will look for some kind of help, any kind of help that they really can get because they've got an issue with some of their plants. So we thought, you know what, if our friends are really dealing with this, our friends and our family are, then I'm sure that there's a lot of other people out there. And that's the goal. That's the goal of the show, is to really help you out, make sure that we're giving you some good information that we've learned while in the horticultural industry, and hopefully translate that so that you can use that in your own home, use that with your own plants. I'm getting off topic though, because today's topic is about begonias. So this is part of our spring series. As we get closer to the spring and you're looking to either buy plants for your deck or the hanging baskets, you're going to plant your garden, you're going to make your own planters, something like that. There's a ton of plants that are purchased in the spring. So we're trying to get all revved up as we move into these warmer months and give you all the information that you need before you head to a garden center or a retail store looking for your next set of plants. So, begonias, they're above me here. There's a couple of different types. There's fibrous and tubular, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to talk about how they are grown in the greenhouse first. So usually we talk about soil, water, and light. Now, soil, I usually give you the spectrum. If you listen to any other shows, I give you kind of a spectrum. So from one end of the spectrum, you have like sand, and on the other end of the spectrum, you have like really heavy clay. Where's the soil going to land? This is going to land a little bit more into the well-draining side. If you're growing these in a greenhouse, you do want the water to be able to drain out. That's because the root systems aren't very tough. They can get very extensive, and they are very strong later on in the growth cycle, but it takes a while for those roots to start to develop on new cuttings and for them to really spread all the way through the pot. So once they spread, they're there. They can soak up moisture really quickly. But until that point, you want to use soil that's a little bit lighter so that the roots can really dig through it. Number two, light. Now, light is a little funny because you're going to use the same light across the whole greenhouse. Whether, some places will be able to put on different levels of shade depending on which zone that the plant is in, but most of the time there's a blanket level of shade that's going to be placed on top of the greenhouse. So it's just diffused light is really what the plant is getting once it gets into the peak season of the spring. So when you actually get it from the store, it's going to be ready to go for, let's say usually it's part sun, most of the time shade. That's where begonias are going to be happiest. And fertilizer. So relative to other types of plants, begonias will take a little bit lower levels of fertilizer. And now remember, if you are a grower out there, if you are an expert as well, I'm just trying to give blanket terminology, blanket understanding for everyone so that, give a really broad overview of it. But begonias can grow pretty quickly. And if you feed them with really heavy fertilizer all at once, they can grow really quickly. Whether you're talking about wax begonias in a tray or you're talking about rigger begonias in a large 12-inch pot, they can grow very quickly. They're responsive once the root systems are developed. So growers can sometimes use a little bit lower fertilizer level just to hold them back a bit. They might use some growth regulator. They might they might try to slow them down because begonias can do something else where, depending on the variety, if they're in a pot, in a hanging basket or a patio pot or something like that, they can grow up, they can grow together, and then eventually they're so strong, they're looking to grow so much, they start to push away from each other, and if they get moved too quickly, they'll end up splitting, and then you got a big hole in the middle of the pot, which now the pot is pretty much garbage. You can't sell it anywhere. So growers will try to slow down that plant. As you know, now I'm going to take that information and we're going to flip it into how does that apply to you? What are you going to do? Well, first off, actually, I've got some favorite begonias for when you actually go to a garden center. This is different from some of the other shows. But first off, dragonwing begonias, these are awesome, awesome plants for garden beds. If you're going to plant in your garden and you're looking for some really great plants, sometimes you see them in mixed containers, like in a patio pot or in a hanging basket. A little bit less common because they can be very aggressive. You can put them in your garden bed and they will grow quickly. They are awesome. They actually come from seed, so they do a really great job taking off. So if you're looking for something like that, check out dragonwing begonias. Rigger begonias are a real staple as soon as you look for pots. I would say anywhere from a 4-inch up to like even 20-inch patio pots. A lot of begonias that are used are going to be Riggers, and this is because they have such a great mounding shape. You see them right above me here. Those are two different types of Rigger begonias. They have these awesome flowers. They can be completely covered in flower and completely covered in color. They look great when you get it from the store. And they have this strong shape, strong structure to them. They all really support each other. They're strong in the wind. They can do really, really well for you. Plus, they have that dark foliage. So if you plant anything else with it, like a trailer that's coming over the other side of the pot, that's going to illustrate how nice the bright colors that are above it really are. So Rigger begonias, if you're going to plant up your own planter or something like that, see if your local garden center or retail center has one of those. Has something like that. There are some direct sun begonias. There are begonias that illustrate and that advertise that they are direct sun. They can be a little bit hit and miss depending on the variety that you're using, but they are out there if you're really looking for something that can go in that direct sun. I've brushed over it earlier, but in general, a lot of begonias they will want to be part shade at least during the day. If not full shade, they do pretty well. There are some that can do okay in the sun, but you're going to have to be a bit more specific with it. The last one that I have is wax begonias. So wax begonias are usually sold in either 4-inch or in trays. They're also great for your garden because instead of like a dragon wing, which will grow really tall quickly by like the end of the summer, it can be very tall if you fertilize it. The wax begonias will generally like stay a little bit more mounding and they'll spread instead. So they'll cover the space that you're looking for them to cover. So depending on what kind of look you're trying to get, wax begonias might be what you are looking for. Okay, so other considerations. If you are repotting them, now think about the soil levels that we talked about earlier, like where on the soil spectrum that the plant really is. If you're repotting, I'd still suggest that you go towards a little bit more of a well-draining soil because the root systems are going to be a little bit happier with that. They can get some wet feet a little bit more easily, so you want to go to somewhere that can drain the soil, that can drain the excess water, rain, whatever you're going to get out of that soil. Overwintering, this is a question that we get pretty often. You can do it. You can overwinter a begonia, and especially in a smaller pot, if you've got like a small 4-inch or a 6-inch that you've had outside, you can overwinter it. I always hesitate with this because you can do it, but is it going to look nice? I don't know. That's the hard part. And you can do it with a larger pot. If you cut the cut the plant back a little bit, you really shave it down. So now it's got a little, less to support. They don't have this massive plant that it wants to support. It's now got a lot less to support. The root system's all there. But the problem is now you don't have that flower that you were really attracted to before. It doesn't have the shape that you were attracted to before. So you can overwinter it, and you're gonna have to, fight a few battles here and there as you're going through that winter period, especially the further north you go. However, it is possible if you can deal with the look of it, then you're okay. So that's all that I've got on begonias, and I didn't change one slide. If you're listening, oh, I'm gonna run through this really quickly. If you're listening, over to my right, or sorry, if you're watching, that makes more sense. If you're over to my right, there's some wax begonias. These are dragonwing begonias that you see here. As I said, they grow really tall. They have that structure. These are Rieger begonias that you see here. These are another type called Iconia begonias. They are some that advertise that they can be direct sun. These are other begonias in your garden. This was supposed to be something on gardens. And here we go, last slide. If you have any questions on this, head over to plantcare.club. Fill out our question form, and we can get back to you. If this brought up any questions that you were looking to have answered, we can hopefully help you out on a future show. Until then, thanks guys. I will talk to you again soon.